The company behind Ben Shapiro is trying to build a right-wing magic kingdom. So if the specter
they're doing their own Disneyland.
Yeah, they're doing their own. If the specter, I would say this actually nicely dovetails with both the idea about AI generated culture robbing us of any decency and humanity, and and the ongoing purge going on. I think this article really does nicely thread both of those topics together. Because I'm just gonna start reading here. It says, most people who saw the ad for Jeremy's razors, the greatest commercial ever, now viewed on YouTube 22 million times, probably thought it was a spoof. After a McLaren 600 LT Spider hurtles into a parking lot reserved for God King, almost running over a middle-aged office worker, a sunglassed man in a $1,980 Gucci tracksuit jacket who looks like he was manufactured in an LA lab emerges. Do you remember when there were two genders, he asked, glaring into the camera, and only 1.5 of them had to shave their mustaches? So begins a tirade about real masculinity that lasts nearly 4 slickly produced minutes and features the God King incinerating Gillette and Harry's razors with a flamethrower while flanked by 2 leggy, cleavage-bearing models. At one point, he passes a little girl wearing a dress who's shaving her face. The tone is so smug and the visual is so over the top, it's impossible to discern what's parody and what isn't, including the fact that it shamelessly borrows from the Dollar Shave Club ad that went viral a decade earlier. If you've had enough of the woke bullshit and you're tired of paying companies like Harry's and Gillette's to hate you, Jeremy of Jeremy's Razors snarls, then buy my new razor instead.
Our country's in trouble. Conservatives are being canceled by Hollywood, the media, universities, and now Harry's Razors. Stop giving your money to woke corporations who don't think you deserve their product. Give it to me instead.
The razor salesman is Jeremy Boring, co-chief executive officer of the Daily Wire, the right-wing media company best known for the Ben Shapiro podcast. The video, turns out, is not satire. In March 2021, Daily Wire advertisers Harry's Inc. dropped spots for its razors after receiving a complaint from Twitter user about comments made by Daily Wire personality disparaging gender fluidity. Boring wasn't just fed up with Harry's. He was still seething about a Gillette commercial from 2019 decrying toxic masculinity. Still seething about a Gillette commercial from 2019.
Never forget. Still
mad about that one. It says it's talking about some of their strategies of becoming like a full blown entertainment company. They're trying to fill in the gap now left open by Disney or Netflix or whatever. It says the Daily Wire will acquire a favorable documentary about U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas that's vanished from Amazon Prime, or publish a book by a cop involved in the Breonna Taylor shooting that was dropped by its distributor. Ultimately, Boring wants the Daily Wire to help build an alternative economy. It's one where conservatives can get their caffeine from Black Rifle coffee rather than Starbucks, eat Cousin T's pancakes created by Black conservative comedian Terrence Williams to protest the decision by PepsiCo Incorporated to remove the Aunt Jemima logo from its pancake and syrup products and pay for it all with Coin. That's spelled COIGN, America's first credit card for conservatives.
This is the real national divorce.
This is bleak.
Marjorie Taylor Greenlaw talks about we're going to have a civil war. No, we're just going to create perfectly parallel consumer economies.
It's like when Coke created branding, Fanta for the Nazis.
All coming out of the same hog chute, of course. Just like how all the shit on Goop and Alex Jones's website are from the same purveyors. But yeah, that we have to create. Yeah, there's woke Disneyland. There's got to be a non-woke Disneyland. And then there's got to be a non-woke beer. It's not going to be equal. Hilariously, these people probably love Plessy versus Ferguson, but they're not going to get a separate and equal economy because they represent a shrinking market. They represent fixed capital in the dying regions of the country. They're not where the dynamics of the economy are, which is those rich knowledge suburbs who are perfectly happy with the woke version of everything.
They're not still seething about the Gillette ad from 2019. The fact that anyone
so that means the right-wing Disney World is going to be pretty janky. Expect tetanus.
Here's some other exciting new projects coming courtesy of the Daily Wire. It says here, he wants to transform Daily Wire into a kind of anti-Disney, complete with its own movies and TV shows. Currently in the works, a series based on Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, another based on an evangelically themed retelling of the King Arthur legend, and a commitment to spend $100 million over 3 years to develop children's programming that can eventually spawn toys, books, and video games. Michael Pachter, a media and tech industry analyst at Wedbush Securities, scoffs at the idea that Daily Wire will ever be competitive with the likes of Disney or Netflix. Well, scoff now, but
yeah, keep scoffing. Keep scoffing. I'm reloading.
we start out the show joking about scabbing during the writer's strike. But like, first of all, they probably don't hire unionized writers to begin with. Daily Wire should hire us to write. I mean, when he said an evangelical retelling of the King Arthur legend, I was like, get Felix Biederman on that script.
Yeah, dude, we've watched more evangelical content closer than anyone. We know more about it than anyone in the world. We enjoy it more. I don't believe, like, the people who it's actually made for, they don't enjoy it or know as much about it as we do. Like, the one we saw in theaters, the one where Brian...
The Reagent or the Reliant?
The Reliant. Christians should never have to suffer through a movie that confusing ever again.
It was so confusing.
Yeah, we want all Assassins 33 AD. Like, that's what we want to make.
If they give us a call, we could have a shooting script for Secret Uncle on their desk in a month.
We already do have
a lot
of scenes from Secret Uncle.
Yeah, like we could flesh that out into a full script, no problem. Secret Uncle.
If these guys are willing to pay Steven fucking Crowder a $50 million contract, we could do it for a fraction of that. A fraction of what they were going to give Crowder for Secret Uncle's Daily Wire.
Yeah. Thomas is like a bigger star than Steven Crowder.
Certainly.
We have Thomas on like a 360 slavery deal. Jick too.
Continuing the article, it says here, Boring. Listen to this. This is great. Boring's original plan was to make it in Hollywood. He thought he just might soon after he'd moved to Los Angeles in 2000 and auditioned to be an extra in a Revolutionary War movie. Having grown up in a small town in West Texas, he was the only person who volunteered when a call went around for someone who knew how to pray. He landed a small speaking part, but the movie was never made, and Boring ultimately gave up his acting ambitions. Okay, two things about that. He said he wanted to make it in Hollywood and then gave up after getting one part in a movie that never got made. That is the story with all of these guys. We honestly, like, to prevent future Daily Wires from happening, we need some sort of welfare program for like conservative stand-up comics going to Los Angeles. Just put them in make-work movies that like get released on the Samsung refrigerators and nothing else, and that, like, you know, they won't start the new Third Reich in America. But the second thing I want to talk about there is he said like he was the only actor that knew how to pray. That's not fucking hard. Oh, how do I pantomime putting my hands together and kneeling, lowering my head?
That is the best pantomime, just pandering bullshit I've ever heard.
That's complete
bullshit. None of the actors knew who Jesus Christ was.
None of them knew how to pray.
Yeah. There was a scene where someone had to have heterosexual sex with a woman, and none of them knew what that was. There was a scene with a hamburger, and they started screaming and pissing themselves.
It says he did, however, find his way to a men's. This is after he gave up his acting ambitions after being an extra once. He says he did, however, find his way to a men's Bible study group attended by actors such as Joel David Moore, known for playing Dr. Norm Spellman in the Avatar movies, and Zachary Levi, the one-time star of the NBC series Chuck. Boring became the pastor and leader of the group, which didn't just worship and play Halo together. Boring, Moore, and Levy formed a production company called Coattails Entertainment, and in 2007 made a movie called Spiral, starring Moore as a jazzed-obsessed psycho killer and Levy as his best friend. Boring collaborated on the script and turned out to have a way with investors. A lot of what he did was get the money together, says Adam Green, who co-directed the film. It all went smoothly. Spiral flopped. So did the other movies Boring was involved in. They tended to be darkly moralistic, like Shadowheart, a Western for which he was an executive producer about a bounty hunter seeking revenge for the murder of his preacher father. I mean, like, these are dog shit. We have come up with better pitches for movies just as a joke than this garbage.
These are terrible.
The fact that he called this production company Coattails Entertainment instead of Boring Movies is a huge lost opportunity. It says, Boring had better luck in political circles. A member of his Bible study group introduced him to Friends of Abe, a group of Hollywood conservatives founded by actor Gary Sinise and writer-filmmaker Lionel Chetwynd. They were impressed by Boring's talents as both a pastor and a producer. God, Hollywood people are stupid. Like, I like this guy. He's like, he tried to be an actor and that flopped, but he immediately found success being like, I'm the pastor of your men's group. And like, they were just like, this guy's got it. He's got it. He's got the love of Christ. He says, it was through Friends of Abe. By the way, and Friends of Abe sounds like some sort of like, I don't know, gay conservative group, like Friends of Dorothy, like Friends of Abe. It was through Friends of Abe that Boring met Shapiro. In 2010, a right-leaning Orthodox Jew, Shapiro, then 26, was already a budding pundit with his own talk radio show and had authored books such as Brainwashed, How Universities Indoctrinate America's Youth. At their first meeting, he and Boring discussed making movies that reflected their values. We didn't get down to scripts or anything like that, Shapiro said. It was more like we knew that conservative entertainment was something we were both interested in. Yeah, they didn't get down to scripts or anything because neither of these assholes can write anything or they don't have any imagination. So that's why they did the school shooting movie, which was like they just distributed that because it was already made. It actually wasn't that bad a movie. We did that with Pot About List. It was not totally terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Surprised.
Yeah, I've definitely seen worse, but what's notable about that one is like, that was a ready-made sort of Mind of Jason West Redbox movie that they just bought.
Yeah, that wasn't like produced under their shingle,
and it didn't really have that much political idea. I mean, it was like it was ideology about like have to fight to survive, and like the Marine dad with a gun helps her out at the end. But it was like not anywhere close to the movie that Ben Shapiro or Jeremy Boring would have fucking produced if they had any hand in writing it. This is a really good bit. He says, after Shapiro appeared on Piers Morgan Live on CNN in 2013 in a bulky suit and a shirt that looked 2 sizes too big, Boring decided to make himself useful to his friend by staging a fashion intervention. We took a Hollywood stylist to his house and threw away all of his clothes, Boring said. He eventually provided similar makeovers for Daily Wire's other personalities, including himself, upgrading from an après grunge Nickelback look to bespoke blazers and Warby Parker style glasses. Boring says he's given a similar upgrade to Senator Ted Cruz, a friend from Texas.
It's working. Whatever he did, it's working. Ted Cruz doesn't look just like exactly the same, if not like kind of shittier. I could definitely identify all the big changes in Ted Cruz's look.
I just love that he recruits all these like wannabe child actors like Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro, and then just plays dress up with them. He's like, no, you're gonna want to wear these Warby Parker glasses and this nice fitting blazer. Going ahead here, yeah, it says this is going to talk about their film production. It says within 48 hours, Saunier and Boring had a deal. Boring says the Daily Wire investment in Run, Hide, Fight, which cost just $1.8 million to make, paid for itself in a week because it drove so many new subscribers to the site when it was released exclusively there in January 2021. And it goes on to talk about like they did another movie with Gina Carano after she got fired from The Mandalorian. But the thing is, I remember when that movie came out on the Daily Wire. It was called what is it? It's called Terror on the Prairie, a Saunier-produced Western in which she plays a Christian who defends her family against a band of bounty hunters. Everyone wants to see themselves represented on the screen, Saunier says. That's what everyone's screaming and shouting about. Well, we're doing our own version. Conservative values. I remember when the Daily Wire released that movie not too long ago, and all of their fans hated it because they said Gina Carano's character was like a Mary Sue, or that they didn't like the fact that it was a woman kicking ass, and they were like, that's not realistic. They were like, this is SJ shit. So guess you can't win here. They're talking to investors about funding pieces of individual projects instead, but Boring needs to strike some deals soon. In November, he said the company had enough money to develop scripts for Atlas Shrugged and Pendragon. That's the Arthurian legend. But he wasn't sure where the funds to actually shoot them would come from. By April, the Daily Wire said Saunier's Bonfire Legend was handling the financing for both projects, and it was confident it would have sufficient funds to produce them. In the meantime, though, he'll do it with chocolate. A few weeks earlier, to celebrate International Women's Day, the Hershey Company had featured a trans advocate promoting a limited edition Her for She chocolate bar. Boring's response? He dusted off his Gucci jacket and shot another video. International Women's Day is once again upon us, and I love an international woman, Boring says to the camera. But our friends at Hershey's, they don't even know what a woman is. And so Boring rolled out Jeremy's chocolate with she, her, and he, him flavors. Only one of them has nuts, and if you need me to tell you which one, keep buying Hershey's, Boring deadpans. Within a week of the video's March 3rd debut, the Daily Wire declared Jeremy's chocolate had sold 500,000 anti-woke candy bars. Hershey, which churns 24 million chocolate bars a day at its factory in Pennsylvania, says it stands by the campaign. So just an exciting new future of seeing conservative values represented in movies. But the fact that I've not gotten a single phone call from Jeremy Boring to be the script doctor,
these guys don't know what they're doing,
or Atlas Shrugged, or any Christian themed movie is frankly a disgrace. And hey, I'm not WGA, so I'll cross a picket line to work for the Daily Wire.
Absolutely, you privileged.
I mean, I just love what I just love that this dickhead has managed to become like put on the Warby Parker glasses and blazer and be like sort of like a right wing Bob Evans by becoming like a men's pastor to the guy from Chuck.
I mean that's might be better than AI, but we'll see. They might want to just let the AI take a crack at it.
Let's let the AI take a crack at Ben Shapiro's voice.
Seriously,
can artificial intelligence do something about that? But it's like, and at Crowder too, it's just like he wanted to be a comedian and an actor. It's just we talked about this before. It's the same old story with all of these guys, and now they're gonna have their little. I mean, like I said, selling 500,000 gender candy bars is one thing, but do it in the picture business, it's a little bit tougher. So best of luck to them.